What is the Corpus Hermeticum? The Corpus Hermeticum is a collection of secret and sacred writings, which sprang from the mind of Hermes Trismegistus, the messenger of the gods who combined in himself the Latin Mercury and the Egyptian Thot, the god who gave men the gift of speech. These writings are not based on philosophical or religious reasoning, but on divine revelation, granted to men by Hermes only to those worthy to receive his mystery initiation. The work is divided into 18 books. The Corpus Hermeticum reached the courts of Cosimo de' Medici in 1463, after the diaspora of scholars following the Ottoman Empire's seizure of Constantinople in 1453. A whole series of priceless manuscripts reached the most important noble courts of Italy in the mid-1400s, where they were purchased and had them translated. The translation of the Corpus Hermeticum is the responsibility of Marsilio Ficino, a leading exponent of the newly founded Platonic Academy and already the translator of Platonic dialogues and the works of Plotinus. The protagonist of this text is Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, a mythological figure believed to predate not only Plato and Aristotle but also Moses. The corpus is a collection of different fragments and works, but more precisely we can define it as the collection of 17 mystical mythological religious treatises, written in Greek, plus the final part, the Asclepius, which has come down to us in the Latin version, dating from the late Hellenistic period and thus in the midst of the Neoplatonic tradition. The authoritativeness of the text is not affected even when it was proved beyond doubt that the corpus was composed, precisely, in the era of the earliest Christian sources. But the paradigm of antiquity lingers, just as it echoes a veil of mystery, obscurity, foreboding and above all great authority in the figure of Hermes. This intricate and fascinating text, with its sophisticated language, offering an original philosophical vision of human reality as the very emanation of the divine, inspired many Renaissance philosophers, persuaded that they had on their hands a work whispered by God himself to Hermes and thus a writing of exceptional value that they could probe, in an attempt to bring out between one sentence and the next, the essence of that unique and primordial wisdom, pure and true, coming directly from God. The text states that man is not diminished by having a moral part, but this mortality enhances his possibility and power. His dual functions are possible to him because of his dual nature. He is constituted in such a way as to embrace at once the terrestrial and the divine. Indeed, we are not afraid to affirm the truth. The true man is above the heavenly gods, or at least equal to them. For no god leaves his sphere to come to earth, while man ascends to heaven and measures it. Hence we dare to affirm that man is a moral god and that a heavenly god is an immortal man. Hermeticism is mixed with pagan Neoplatonism and is repeatedly found in Christian Gnosticism, with its various phases, some of which coincide almost perfectly with the Platonian tradition. Neoplatonism, Gnosticism, Greek and Egyptian wisdom, Neo-Pythagoreanism, Jewish mysticism, and Christian gnosis all seem to converge in this collection with its ascetic nature and magical religious background. The hermetic, that is, obscure, character is the great fortune of these writings. Each current influences the other to the same extent that it is in turn influenced by the other. There is a continuous exchange of knowledge, traditions, and thoughts that are inextricably intertwined. These are obscure texts, critics will say, marked by the deepest mysticism, but it is precisely in obscurity that man imagines metaphysically powerful images, values, and ideas. Hermeticism becomes the dominant current within humanism and the Renaissance, which in turn influences the greatest scientists of the 16th and 17th centuries, among them Copernicus, who, having studied in Padua, will be enchanted by the cultural and philosophical force of the Italian Renaissance, and his philosophical training will prove decisive for the elaboration in 1543 of De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, a fundamental text and immovable pillar of the nascent scientific revolution. The positive Gnostic track is the one that favors the most important Renaissance ideas. In this race toward the mythical origins of the Golden Age, of first and uncorrupted knowledge, many indeed participate, and all, some more, some less, find in the Corpus Hermeticum a mighty initiatory tool, capable of guiding man into the new design of the world. Contained here is not only a renewed religious interest that revives and strengthens the idea of a monotheism, present long before Christianity itself, but also a profound sense of duty toward knowledge of oneself and one's own nature, clearly Socratic in its derivation. The revelation of a wisdom rooted in the very distant past is the spark that ignites the research and study of philosophers and scholars is concentrated in these new visions, which will give an unstoppable thrust toward that educational task to which philosophy must necessarily fulfill, masterfully enunciated by Pico della Mirandola. The decisive historical passage is given by what took the name of the definitive Christianization of Hermes, anticipated again by Pico in the aforementioned De Hominis Dignitate of 1486. In 1488, on the floor of Siena Cathedral, the thrice great Hermes Trismegistus himself is depicted in a mosaic. In close sequence, in the space of a little less than 30 years, we have a pagan god entering the Christian canon, a mystical character channeling into Christianity. The impact of the Corpus and Hermes in the Italian humanistic and Renaissance tradition is devastating, so much so that the Renaissance is exported throughout Europe, going so far as to form the basis of the Cambridge Neoplatonic school of the early 17th century and influencing a whole series of metaphysical currents of the next 3 centuries. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.